Hmm. Hey everybody, what's up? This is Eric with Astroworld TV. Welcome tonight. As most of you all know who follow us, that Dan is out on vacation. He's hanging out in the Caribbean. I think he's like in Bahamas or something like that. So I decided to hop on and do a quick live stream and hang out with everybody. Think we got a little echo here. Just a sec. Dan is out on vacation. All right. I think we got that squared away. So, hey, Tom. Hey, Frank. Hey, everybody. Glad you guys could make it. Glad you guys can make it. So excited to to hang out with everybody and talk a little bit of astrophotography while Dan is out. Letting you guys know, I'm not counting this. This is not E300 because Dan is not here. Like I said, he's on vacation, hanging out in this, on a nice cruise ship. Hopefully, he's getting some imaging done, on those private islands every once in a while. But I figured, hey, I owe it to you guys to let's try to keep this thing going, even while Dan is out. If I can't do it, Friday, I at least want to try to do something this week for all of us so we can hang out, enjoy ourselves, talk AP, talk about a few things that I've had going through, my mind about maybe with flat calibration frames, LRGB imaging, a few other things, stuff like that. So, hey there, Lady Loki, how are you? How are you? Appreciate everybody hopping on. So this is fantastic that everybody's hopping on. Good to see everybody coming in. And let's keep the chat going. If you have thoughts, questions, anything about the topics I'm going to be sharing or anything like that, feel free to hop in there. Exactly. This is just a little friendly get together. This is just us hanging out, having some fun. Right now, it is raining outside, or it's been pretty cloudy here in Northern Illinois. But I am looking forward to, we're getting close to the new moon and doing some LRGB imaging. I've got a few targets that I have in mind that I may take a crack at. Want to know if anybody out there is actually having better skies than I am. Let me know what you guys are doing. Let me know what you guys are working on as far as your projects, what you're imaging. Love to hear what's going on there. Hey, there it is, Charity. Congratulations. Loving that you'll be able to use those VA benefits. I am a veteran myself, use those benefits, and to all of our veterans, happy upcoming Veterans Day. Is coming up on Saturday. Thank you guys for your service to all of my brothers and sisters in uniform. And, enjoy that day, enjoy those free meals and all those other things that those businesses are really cool and nice enough to hand out to us. But yeah, absolutely. I think that's fantastic. Congratulations on that, Charity. So Norm, yeah, got a cold front. Yeah, I think last time I checked, windy. We may get some clear skies towards the weekend. Keeping my fingers crossed, see what happens. And like I said, hopefully I can try to get some broadband imaging going. So Chris says a friend just, oh, nice image of the day. Very cool. Congratulations to that. That's a pretty big deal for our community. Getting an APOD, women, getting an astroband image of the day, and of course the Astroworld image of the week. We have voting open. We have that out. I believe we have 3 or 4 entries. We'll go through those. We'll touch base on those. And don't forget, voting is open now until Friday. That is for this week. And then I'll be opening it up again on Saturday for next week for E300, everything, so we'd be all good there. So, yeah, as far as a few things that I wanted to talk about with flat frames, for those who are new to the show or new to astrophotography and getting into astrophotography, excuse me, here, great. we have different types of frames or images that we have to take along with just our light frames, which is the actual data of the target that we're imaging. We have to also deal with different issues, such as vignetting, such as dust, things like that, such as slight imperfections. And what we use are what we call calibration frames to kind of cancel out those imperfections so we can get a much cleaner image in the long run. And one of the most important calibration frames is our flat frames. And our flat frames are usually short images, maybe a few seconds. It depends on your filter or anything like that. If you're doing narrowband imaging, your flat frames will probably be a bit longer. Broadband, a little bit shorter. It just depends. But what we use those for is so we can pick up a lot of those imperfections, like I said, those dust bunnies, vignetting, things like that, all those things that, so we take usually a good handful of them. I would say maybe 25 or more, right? That we would take of those, and we make a master flat frame, just like we do a master dark frame, which, or a master bias and a master flat dark. And so we can calibrate out all of those imperfections that are in our master light frames, in our light frames, which we're getting, for the targets that we're taking. So yeah. And absolutely. Hey guys, if you like what we're doing here, if you appreciate what we're doing here for Astroworld TV, really appreciate it. If you're on YouTube here, like a lot of us are, because that's when we're doing the live stream, that you give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing. We really appreciate that. Keep, the number going as far as, the thumbs up helps push the algorithm going, and lets YouTube and Google know, hey, let's get Astroworld TV up towards the top when we start searching for astrophotography shows and things like that. So definitely let's do that. Hello, Newman. What's happening, guys? Oh my gosh. So why that? Dan is on. Dude, you're supposed to be on vacation, man. What are you doing? You're supposed to be on vacation. You're on vacation. So it's awesome to have you on, Dan. I hope you're having a great time. And hopefully, maybe you've gotten some imaging done. I hope so. Maybe you brought your setup. Let me know. Did you bring your setup? Did you actually get there and take it onto the boat, onto the ship, and were you able to do anything yet? Yeah, he's probably been drinking, Yes, this is his vacation. And what is he doing? He's hanging out with us. Gotta love it, man. But dude, I mean, I don't know. If it were me, I'm hanging out in the Caribbean. Yeah, I'm going to be hanging out on a beach or something like that. Or like you're doing, you're on a cruise ship, drinking, having fun. So I hope, you and your wife are enjoying your time and hanging out and enjoying the Caribbean sun and Caribbean sands and all that other sort of stuff. So yeah, I know he never stops working. I don't get it. I mean, you got to slow down every once in a while, right? Yeah, he's sitting in a bar. Oh, that's too bad. Oh man, he wasn't able to take it. He said it was too much to pack. That stinks. But hey, enjoy yourself. That's the main thing. You're on vacation, Dan. Enjoy yourself. That's all it is. So yeah. So like I was saying with flat frames, that's what why we take our flat frames is so we can calibrate out and get rid of, and cancel out all those imperfections that happen on our light frames or on those frames that we take of our targets, like of M42, the Orion Nebula, or Andromeda, or whatever. We use these flat frames as well as the dark frames and the bias or dark flat frames, to cancel these things out. So one of the things that I was struggling with, and a lot of you guys know this, was for me taking some imaging was a problem with my sensor and a problem with my flat frames. So I'm going to share with you real quick, guys, on my screen, and we're going to take a look at a couple things and a couple images that that I've been working on, and some things I've done to correct that stuff. And so let me go ahead and I'm going to switch over and I'm going to actually share my screen. And let's see here. All right, so let's minimize this guy and let's go to PixInsight. And let me know. And I also want to just double check, make sure that I have the chat open here beside so I can make sure I'm seeing everything and stuff like that. So Eric the Educator, I'm not going to let that go to my head. So trust me. Let me just minimize this a little bit. So, and get this out of the way. All right. So let me go to the images that I've been working on, which was one that I just actually released on Astroworld, which is the Helping Hands Nebula, which is a dark nebula in Perseus. So, no, I'm sorry, in Cassiopeia. So let me go here and let me bring this up here. And I know we talked a little bit about also my filter, sometimes going unidirectional and stuff like, going bidirectional, which means it's going, instead of going in one way all around, it'll end up going your filter wheel can go either clockwise or counterclockwise, whichever is the shortest distance to get to the filter, you need for your imaging session. So one thing I will say, and I agree with everybody who have mentioned this, make sure that your filter wheel in the settings that you set it to unidirectional. So it's always going in the same direction to get to whatever filter you're working with. Reason that is because you won't end up with things like this. If you guys can see this image here of these, and these are these imperfections that we're talking about here, right? And a lot of times these are caused, and I see you have one here, a little bit of an imperfection here, as even one right here in the actual, if I bring it up here a little bit, in the actual target. So if I zoom that up, you have this here, which was caused by, these, sometimes it's caused by the filter wheel, also for flats. And when it comes to the flats, when you have sometimes these really more pronounced imperfections and artifacts like this, a lot of times that I figured out is that this is also caused by the dust being very close where it is, where basically those specks of dust or things like that or dirt, where are they in relation to distance to at least as far as closer or away from your sensor. And what my thought is things like this here, and you have here, as well as even this one right over here, it's because you have that dust or those dust specks, anything like that, are a lot closer, tend to be a lot closer to your sensor, meaning they're more on the sensor or on that sensor glass right above the sensor versus maybe on the filter. Okay. So these are some of the things that when you get this types of stuff that you fight, and it just frustrates you. At least it frustrates me. Right. So one of the things that I've been doing is trying to clean up my flats. And I will even share with you one of my flats here. Let me see if I can find that. So here you have, this is one of the flats that I was using for this session. And you can see here these imperfections, like this one's even darker, right? And usually when the darker they are, the closer they are to your sensor, if I'm not mistaken. And you guys chime in the chat. Let me know if I'm, if I'm on track here with my thought process and what I'm describing here. So like these guys here, a lot of times, especially this one here, right? That means, yeah, that is closer to my sensor. I also have maybe a couple other ones here. Let me see here. We go to our other flats. And slide this over here so I grab them. Button. So, oops, sorry. So as you can see here, it's even more, it's the same thing. It's more pronounced here. It's that same area, right? And it's this way over more and more as I go through each of those sessions. See, here it is here. So what I'm getting at is when you start having common, artifacts like this, and they begin to just stack up, it begins to become more and more pronounced. And then that tends to end up showing in your final images. It can tend to end up showing there, and it's hard to try to get rid of that, right? So let me just bring up the chat here again. So those things, it just drives me nuts. So one of the things that we have been doing is trying to figure out, and I was talking to Dan about this, is how do we deal with this? Or when you recognize this, what does this call for? Well, this basically calls for you needing to clean your sensor. All right. That's basically all this really is. And what I'm getting at is that Dan told me about this tool, about this little kit, and it's this guy right here. It is from Delkin. It is a sensor scope, is what and what you use this for is basically to try to find those imperfections or those dust issues on your sensor or on that glass on your sensor. So as you can see, this one here, if I turn it on, it will illuminate. So that way you can actually go a little bit closer and actually see, and it magnifies that your sensor and that sensor area, so you can start recognizing, hey, where's that dust at? Where's that stuff going on? And you can then end up using things like, they've got in here such as a blower, or if you have a sensor brush or anything like that, or you end up getting sensor pads. This one here came out with, comes with sensor pads and cleaner and stuff like that. So for all those who are very new to astrophotography or getting it and they tend to have this issue, one thing you definitely want to do is you want to check if you have that common area like I'm showing here, right? You want to definitely take a look at your sensor, and because it's most likely that you have dust on that sensor, and that has to be taken care of and addressed and cleaned, or else you're going to continue, no matter what, you're going to continue to have these types of problems with your images, and they won't calibrate out. It'll be it'll be very difficult for you to get rid of them and calibrate them out. So this here, and Dan, I appreciate you sharing this with me, or this information, these sensor scopes, is this one's really inexpensive. It was the whole kit, because like I said, it came with, this is like a travel kit that came with wipes, swabs, a blower, cleaning solution, stuff like that, as well as this guy. Cost about $55. So very, in the grand scheme of things, very inexpensive for what you wanted, to clean and to take care of your equipment. And that's what And that's the name of the game. That's what it's all about. When you're taking, these images, or when you're working with this type of equipment, it's expensive, equipment. It's, taking these images, you're doing these images for a long period of time, stuff like that. And you want to get the best images you could possibly can. You want to, do whatever you can to get to get those images really, really nice. So taking care of your equipment, using things like the sensor scope to check your camera, and cleaning it every once in a while so you can avoid these types of issues on your flats, or is very, very important. So I would recommend to anyone, when you have these types of situations, these types of issues, think about checking out and looking up for a sensor scope, so you can be able to look a little bit deeper into your camera's optics, and checking out and cleaning that stuff up. So that was really what I wanted to get at when it came to these flat frames and stuff like that, because this gets angering, if you know what I mean. So, okay. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing that. Who makes this? This is Delkin, Delkin, is Delkin Devices. I don't know if you can see that here pretty well, but Delkin Devices makes this sensor scope. And like I said, it comes with these, with sensor wands, and we see these quite a bit. Solution even came with a blower, few other things, but like I said, for $55, this makes sense. It's a very smart investment, especially getting this sensor scope. In that way, every once in a while, if you do start seeing that these issues creep up, you can take action, So, oh, absolutely. No, hey, Beatrice, nice to have you coming on. So yeah, Tom, hope that helps. So in the meantime, before we hop into the next thing that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to actually remind everybody about the image of the week on astroworldweb.com/IOTW, and that we do have everything open for voting. And I'm going to go back to my screen, screen sharing here, and we'll take a look at the entries for this week. So let me go ahead and get that prepped up here. And we will do that. Okay, so here we are at astroworldweb.com/IOTW for Image of the Week contest. And don't forget, the Image of the Year winner will be receiving the new Optilong quad band filter, courtesy of Sean Nielsen with Visible Dark CA. So definitely, that's really cool of Sean to do that, and we really appreciate his continued support of the show and hanging out with us. So it really, really is a cool thing that he's done for us. So, like I said, for last week, we had Ernie winning with the Crescent Nebula, and this was an awesome image. I mean, you can even see the faint soap bubble here, which is really cool. But let's talk about this week, November 10th, and who are our entries. We have the Soul Patch by Chris Ferguson, part of the Soul Nebula. The Pac-Man Nebula by Dave Schaefer. And the Rosette Nebula by Tom Peter. And this was done in the Show 4X palette. And so far, we've got 14 votes. So definitely continue voting. We'll make the announcement. If I can't do it, like I said, this Friday, we will make this announcement next Wednesday during our E300 show, as well as we'll be announcing our winner for Image of the Month. So for October, so don't forget, for Image of the Month, We have this open until E300 on November 15th until 10 p.m. Eastern. So we've got Greg Myers, SH2 115, the Cocoon Nebula by Scott Schneider, the Wizard Nebula by Harold Soto, and the Ring of Fire, the Annular Eclipse by Norm Hughes. And so far, we have 34 votes. So let's boost that up, guys. Let's come on. We know we can do better. Get everybody out there. If you have one of these 4 images, Greg, Harold, Scott, Norm, get on out there. Tell you everybody else to start hopping onto astroworldweb.com/IOTW and start voting if they haven't done it yet. So let's hop. I want to see what's going on in the chat. Thank you, Beatrice. I appreciate that. Thank you for the continued support. Mark, hey, what's happening? Glad to see you hopping on, man. So I want to see what else is going on in here. And then we're going to talk a little bit, because I would like to get some folks' opinions when it comes to LRGB imaging. So I'm going to just... It just showed up. It just showed up now in your feed. Well, Mark, still appreciate you hopping on here, man. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was LRGB imaging, and which is basically the broadband imaging, your luminance, your red, green, and blue imaging here. And one thing that I have been working on is working on the helping hands, but I'm also going to be going after other broadband targets, other dark nebulosity, and things like that. And I came across a few things within Astrobin and just my own surfing and stuff like that. And for the longest time myself, I've always treated, as far as my imaging, and especially when it comes to gain, my gain settings, and what the gain is, if for those who aren't aware of what gain is, when it comes to their CMOS or CCD cameras, it is basically electric amplification of the pixels to help boost the signal of the camera and of the images you're taking. So you're boosting up that signal electronically, kind of artificially. So by increasing the gain, right? So the higher the gain, the more power that's going to be hitting every pixel. That's going to hit each pixel, or electricity is going to hit each pixel and boosting that signal. The lower that is, or even at 0, they say that's when you get to 0, you're using it's more, you're gathering up. It's not gathering, but your images would be more of HDR, more of a high dynamic range. You're going to have more of a high dynamic range when you're at 0 gain. So that is one of the questions that I'm asking when I'm thinking about here when it comes to LRGB imaging, because I am just so used to having my images, be it broadband or narrowband, all at the same gain setting, which is basically unity gain. For example, on my 2600 mono, the unity gain is at 100. So I like to know how many of you who imaging just basically keep everything the same, keep your LRGB and your narrowband imaging, the gains the same, or from what I have seen and read, looking at a lot of Astrobin images, and I'm just surfing the web, that when it comes to broadband, that you go down, you want to get that high dynamic range. So you drop your gain down to 0. So I like to get an idea of how many people do this within the chat, because it's something that I'm actually thinking of trying, is switching to, when it comes to broadband, to go starting to do 0 gain. And then when I'm at narrowband, I'll keep it at 100. I'll keep it at unity, which basically means that I'll have to end up, maybe doubling my exposure length. So if I was doing a 2-minute exposure on 100 gain or unity gain, I'm probably, because I don't have that electric the help with, is the pixels aren't getting charged, it's not getting that boost, that electrical boost, because now I'm at 0 gain. There's no amplification. So I have to expose longer, so maybe double or maybe even 3 times. So I'm kind of curious how others do this when it comes to LRGB imaging. Do you keep it at unity gain, or do you keep yours because you want to get that better dynamic range? Do you do 0 gain, or no gain? So I'd like to hear what a lot of people have to say here. So let's take a look at it here. Tom Peter, is it true that high well depth decreases the burnout of a star core? I think so. I think if you have a higher well depth, I think you can expose a little bit longer, which means that also you're not going to blow out. You're going to minimize the blowout of those brighter stars. That's what I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. We can definitely hear from everybody else in the chat who may have a bit more knowledge on that. But I think so. But let's see what everybody else has to say. Lyco 52, 0 with a 2600 mono for LRGB. Okay. And that's what I have. I have a 2600 mono. So Mark is saying, I think it depends on the camera. Okay. 120 for luminance is good. 180 to 300 second. 100 to, are you talking gain? 180 to 300 for RGB? Are you talking exposure or gain? Just want to make sure that we're talking. Norm, you're saying you run 200 gain for everything. What camera are you using? I'd like to know. Chris, I use 0 gain on really short focal ratios all the time. I want that deeper well to retain star color. All right. That's a good thing to know, because when you guys share this information with me, you're not just sharing it with everybody else, you're sharing it with me, but everybody else. So we all get educated here. Tom says, I've always used the same gain and offset, causes different bunches of darks and flats, because okay, because having those different types of darks and flats confuses you. Okay, sure. Ash, I keep it all at 100. Yeah, a higher well depth means a lower gain. Absolutely. Which means you can definitely, when you have a high well depth and your gain is lower, you can definitely expose a lot longer, and you can minimize your chances of blowing out, those stars, or, getting better color. Okay, Mark, you're using a 268, which is very similar to a 2600 that I use from ZWO, and you're at 600. Norm, you're using a 16. Okay, an ASI 1600 mono. Okay. those are the workhorses. You know, the 1600s have been around forever, and they still kick out some fantastic photos. And you know, you put out some great photos, so you know that for sure. Beatrice, I mostly use 100 gain with my 2600 one shot color. In the future, you know, you're going to experiment with other gains. Absolutely. That's another thing, is that experiment. Let's try to figure out what works, what ends up working best for you. If you end up going to a zero gain to gather that high dynamic range and you're exposing a little bit longer, it's okay. But if you get better results of that because you have that high well capacity, meaning you can go a little bit longer, you can really get that color, as well as, you know, you're not going to be blowing out, you know, the core of those stars. You know, you're reducing the risk of that, rather. May make sense. So yeah. So Joe, I use QHY 183 mono and use unity gain at 10. Okay, so for your so your unity gain is 10 on the 183. And you do that for 2 minutes. Excuse me. Okay. Yep, Mark, you've got a QHY 600. Yeah, that's going to be also another question is Chris, what do you consider a short focal ratio? Are you talking anything below f7, you know, or are you getting closer towards f5.6 and anything, you know, lower than that, you know? So I'd be curious to know what you have there as far as what you consider that, you know, shorter focal ratio. Faster optics probably make a difference for sure. Yeah, yep, I can see that definitely happening there. Okay, Dave, f4 below. All right, thanks for that clarification. Appreciate that. So we're having some good conversations. You're talking about what the gain settings we have, as far as what gain setting we usually do for our broadband targets. A lot of I'm seeing here, and there's no right or wrong answer for this. You can definitely continue to keep it at unity gain, or you can find maybe a happy medium between unity gain and zero gain. You can definitely do that. It's all about, like Beatrice was saying, experimentation and just figuring out what works best for you. And then eventually you'll get to the point, if you find the sweet spot for you and for how you do your images, then you can take an entire set of, you know, dark flat of your of darks to build up your dark library for that particular gain. And just like you're doing unity gain for now, if you find that maybe there's a happy medium or going down to zero gain that works best for you, just make a new dark library rather, and you just start doing it that way, and you just keep going. So for me, I actually, during all this, you know, the bad weather we're having, I actually decided to go ahead and build a new dark library at zero gain at different settings. I think I went from 60 seconds all the way up to 600 seconds. And I'm going to give that a shot at some point here very soon and see how this all comes out, because there's nothing wrong with experimenting and giving things a try. And I just want to learn. So, and as far as I'm concerned, I have an old saying: nothing beats a failure but a try. So if I try, I haven't failed at it. Yeah, this is a great thought. And like I said, Norm, Pete, Tom, there's no right or wrong. This is all about experimentation. And if things turn out well for you, that you are going, you know, you're imaging, say, some maybe even the Pleiades, Now that's a big, you've got some very bright stars there, but maybe doing it at a zero gain, you're not risking, the star blowout may be more controllable. Yeah, maybe it'll be, that could be more well controlled versus, maybe going at unity gain and maybe even be able to retain or pull in a bit more star color. Because I know you guys have been talking about that as well, is sometimes when you at a high dynamic range and, doing these, and going at a zero gain, you might be able to get some better star color out of it. So, yeah. Joe Smith, my procedure, unity gain and adjust exposure time for the conditions. Then check a histogram, keep the peaks at a third or less. Yep. I always keep it at my, as far as the histogram, you definitely want to keep an eye on that no matter what. And I usually keep it within that, you have to keep it within, I would say, that first quarter. If you want to break up the histogram into quarters, you want to keep it into that first quarter. And I usually go maybe a little bit further left, something like that, where your ADU is maybe 2000s, something like that, depending on what camera you have and how it reads out. But your ADU or can be around that range, maybe in the 2000s, something where like there, maybe give or take. But you definitely want to keep it, I would say, within that quarter, that first quadrant or first quarter of the histogram. Norm, in narrowband, I narrowband, but I always shoot RGB for the stars. Always fighting star blowout. So this might actually help. Okay, awesome. So, and that's another thing is that there's a image that I have been worked that I just finished the project, but I haven't started processing it yet. But it was a sharpless, it was a target out of the sharpless catalog designation. I want to say it was sharpless 206. And what I decided to do is I did it all narrowband, right? Doing the Hubble palette, sulfur, hydrogen, and oxygen. But I also decided at the very end when I was doing this, I decided, you know what? I want to do RGB stars as well. So I decided to do 2-minute exposures of red, green, and blue and let those run. I got about 40 to 50 of them. And I would then incorporate that with the narrowband, clear out the stars out of the narrowband image, and then throw in the RGB stars when I am ready to finalize everything. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of this is going to turn out. So yeah. Dave, when I do my RGB stars, I usually do unity and keep the exposures around 60 seconds or less. Okay. One of the things that I definitely have been doing is, like we were just talking with Joe and mentioning with Joe, is I really keep an eye on that histogram, because even when I've done the 2-minute shots, my histogram in Nina, it has barely, it doesn't clip at the end, but it just barely gets over. And like I said, it gets around that 1,000 or so, maybe a little bit less than that, and it stays around there. So it doesn't move the needle very much to the right. It hugs going towards the left side of that histogram pretty much, even at 2-minute exposures. So yeah, that's what I'm saying, Tom. Experiment, make a new library. I mean, if you have some bad weather or anything like that, it's not good. Take some. It doesn't hurt. You're not imaging anyway. That's the best time to go ahead and build a new library of darks And then just when you have another clear opportunity, just go for it and just see what happens. And let me know. Let us know in the chat when you're done with this, or when you're doing another post as far as imaging even within the Discord, channel that we have, or just in general through Astroband, if you post an Astroband or for Facebook or whatever. I'd like to see what those images come out to look like, and how you think and how you feel about going that route with doing the lower gain for your RGB, and see how it all turns out. Chris says, for LRGB or for one-shot color, I use Nina's histogram readout. And that's what I'm learning to do as well. Right now, I'm shooting 90-second luminance, and I have 96 pixels. Wow. So 96 will be saturated, and I use that value all the time. Okay. I only use luminance when I was imaging an LRGB target. Mark. One thing that I just realized, and it might be, and when I was doing the helping hands, and as well as my other LRGB images that I've been doing with the 2600, it's just on me. I totally forgot that my luminance filter that I was using the L Pro, the Optilong L Pro, which there's nothing wrong with it. But hey, Wayne, how's it going, man? Hey, Tarek. Yep, I'm running solo tonight. Figured I'd hang out with everybody. We can all get together and chat, and and just keep everything going, even while Dan is hanging out on a cruise ship and spending time with his wife and enjoying the Caribbean. Figured, why not? Let's keep this thing going. And like I said earlier, this does not count towards E300. This is just all just hanging out and just having some fun, and and just talking about stuff. So absolutely. Hey guys, been working at our shop at night, and while the show is on and watching it when it's after it's live. Great. So, oh, thanks a lot there, Wayne. Appreciate it. So I have to even, Wayne, I haven't had a chance because the weather's just been, fall and wet and stuff like that. But I am going to end up replacing my that rubber stripping and stuff like that, so I can get things with my new to me Skyshed pod, get rid of the buckets and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to getting some clear opportunity so I can go ahead and do that. And right now it looks like maybe this weekend I'll have an opportunity to do that. So I'll be able to take the dome off, or either, if not that, I'll just take that the one area that you've recommended that we have to do just before at the clamshell, that one edge, and then just clean it all up, and then put on new stripping and put on some Luxel and clean it all up, and hopefully we can see that it all works out. So fingers crossed. Yeah, that's one of the things. Yeah, been some crazy wind. I mean, when it gets fall, it gets closer to when closer to winter, the wind picks up, man, for sure. Wayne's been putting up some great images. Yeah, he's got that Skyshed Pod Max. I mean, he's in that C14 with the Hyperstar. He's putting up some good stuff. So, as I said, we are getting close to the new moon. And I believe the new moon hits next week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, on the 13th. So great time to, like I said, doing that LRGB or broadband imaging, stuff like that. Yep, definitely got to get the seal on. So for sure. that is definitely one of the things I would be doing. Like I said, I'm gonna check this weekend, and if I can, if the weather cooperates, out with the old and in with and on with the new seals. So absolutely, that'll win. But yeah, so be very interested to hear, here in the chat, if you are having an opportunity this weekend as we get closer to the new moon. Excuse me. What are you going to be planning on shooting, and what are your thoughts on what you guys are going to be targeting? I myself have thought about it, and I think I'm going to continue on with Dark Nebula because I love the challenge, and I just like doing Dark Nebula. Going after Bernard 22 in Taurus, so it's not that far from the Hyades. So yeah, and I might even grab the Hyades too. So we'll see, and give that a shot. So let me know what you guys are in the chat. If anybody's planning on doing any imaging this weekend, if you're going to have an opportunity to do that, I'd like to see what you guys are going for. $14.99 now. NGC 22 C4, or let me know, or 34. That must have meant that was just something to typo, I'm sure, Joe. So 2264. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let me take a look at that here. Let's see what 2264 is. Oh, duh. Cone Nebula in the Christmas tree cluster, of course. Okay. We're getting time that year. It's getting that time. It's getting that time of year. So absolutely. One of my favorite areas of the Christmas tree cluster in the Cone Nebula is the Foxfur Nebula, which is right there in the middle of it. And I don't know why I like that area, but I just enjoy it. I just enjoy imaging that particular area. Don't know why. It's just weird. I know, but who knows? But I do like that area. ARP 273. 273. Okay, colliding galaxies. All right. Have they started colliding yet, or they're getting pretty close? That looks really interesting now. So here I'm gonna, for anybody who is curious about what I'm talking about here, what we're talking about in the chat, and wants a quick image of this, I'll share my screen here so you can take a look at that. So ARP 273. That looks really cool. So Chris, what scope are you using? What optics are you using? Because I'm sure, being Galaxy, you got probably a long focal length scope. So let me know. Yeah. Mark, you're doing it as well, and you're using your CDK 14. Tom, when is the tree coming up? Soon. It probably will be pretty darn soon. And like we've been talking about before, about the tree, it may just stay up all year, and we'll just change out decorations and whatnot every month based off of the holiday of that month. So we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be coming up soon. So should be fun. Okay, so you're using your Edge 8 with a 2600. Okay, so yeah. The I gotta take a look and see, even with the 2600, Yeah, it's gonna still be kind of small, but with the 533 that I'm using now with the Edge, of course, this is um such a smaller sensor. It tends to, of course, magnify a bit better. And I like to maybe even take a look through a telescopius to get an idea of the um, field of view and how something like ARP 273 would end up estimated to look, or even in Nina, just to see how it end up showing. Putting Christmas lights on the house Monday. Well, stay safe there, Norm, for sure. But enjoy it. So that's one of the things I end up having to do too, is now we're getting to the holidays. I gotta start doing that too. Chris. James Pierce won yesterday using Edge 8 and the 2600 mono. Did he crop it pretty well? I gotta take a look at that. Let's see. James Pierce, was this on Astrobin here, Chris? Astrobin the image of the day. Let me know. And then if possible, then I can pull that up and take a quick look. Okay, NGC 5367 from yesterday. I mean, from today, rather. But let's take a look. 67. Or is it about that? Nothing there. Or did I type this thing wrong? 273. Thank you. 273. Let's see. There we go. Much better. These are just crazy. Here was a winter image of the day. That was from 2018. That was image of the day from 2019. '13. Here we are. This is the one, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, Edge HD and a 2600 mono. All right. No, wow, that's pretty cool. And this was image of the day yesterday. So let's just take a quick look. Wow, that is awesome. Great processing and everything. That is really nice. I like that one for sure. And these were LRGB with astronomic filters, and even gives you an idea of. I love it when they share the information as far as the acquisition details. So just 7 hours of integration time. That's awesome. I really like that. Didn't take very long at all. So congratulations to James, and thanks for letting us know about this one. So really, really good. Yeah, and that okay, so 7 hours in the Utah desert, that explains a lot because of the Bortle. You're in dark skies most likely, so you're able to really pull that out. So Bortle 3, there you go. I mean, here in my Bortle 5/6, I'd probably be double that, maybe even a little bit longer. That is absolutely right. The result of dark, having dark skies. That's it right there. Totally. So nicely done. That was great. All right. So stop sharing there. Yeah. I mean, for me being in this, like I said, a 5/6, I'm definitely probably going to be most likely double, if not longer. So that will take some time. All right. So, like I said, I wasn't planning on this being a super, our regular like 2 hour show, stuff like that. Especially with Dan being, gone. It's kind of hard to keep everything moving, and keep things, fresh and for everybody with just, me being solo. And I know Dan feels the same way going for a 2 hour show. So we might like it, so we're not going to be probably on, I'm not going to be on for much longer, but I definitely wanted us to be able to hang out, chat, and hear what everybody's up to as far as imaging, what they got planned for the weekend or for their targets that they've got this week. So definitely I need an Edge 11. I've thought about that myself, but I don't know if I would go to an 11 myself. I think I would end up stopping at a 9 1/4 for. Yeah, guest host, definitely. I'll see maybe at some point, maybe I can get Steve or Sean or, Pete, whoever's available, get them on and see if they'll be available next time I decide to do a solo gig while Dan is out. Yeah, 9 1/4 is probably going to be max ending up for me. I don't know if I will. I don't know if I'd go to an 11. Not saying I couldn't handle an 11. I just don't know if I really would want to go that route. Yeah, the 9 1/4, like they always say, is the Goldilocks. Not too big, not too small like this. It's just right. So yeah. Hoorah. Thank you. Charity. Go Navy. And I love my boys and love my middies, but they stink. They've been stinking it up, this year as far as sports. So, but they're an academy. They all stink. Don't know, Mark, to be honest with you, don't know if I'll be doing a solo or maybe reaching out to, like I said, see if Pete or anyone else, Steve or Sean, see if they're available and they want to hang out. But to be honest, probably not. I probably will just wait until meet up with Dan again next week, and then we hit E300. So keep you posted. Yeah, yeah. I gotta, right now it's been raining so crazy. Um, the buckets are going, so we have had a little bit of water in there, but nothing bad or anything like that. Like I said, with the with the new seals, that hopefully I'll be able to put those on this weekend. then I won't have to worry about the buckets anymore. It's just with new pod, new to me. And I was just so anxious to get it up and going. Now that I want to get it, now that I have these new seals, it's going to make things a lot better. I know that for sure. What am I going to do with my Friday night? You know what? I can say the same thing for me, with Dan being gone. What am I going to do with my Friday night? Yes, winter is coming. And we're not just talking about Jon Snow there, my man, for sure. Exactly, Norm. I agree with you there 100%. For me, it wasn't about the recognition. It was about doing my part. I appreciate, all of the, everybody appreciate, saying thank you and stuff like that. Just simply saying thank you is more than satisfying for me. That's Tom. Spend a little quality time, bud. It's all good. Spending some, mindless time, some mindless TV with your wife. Nothing wrong with that. Depending on what the mindless TV is, I guess. But yeah, so like I was saying, as I am hoping with, and I have been using, Windy and Astroperic and other weather apps. They all have been saying that it should be a pretty decent weekend, at least here in my area. Hopefully, it'll be that way for you guys too. And you have an opportunity. So, yeah. So for me, it looks like Friday would be a good time. And Sunday would be another good date for me. And this is one of the cool things I like about now I have a pod. They're saying that, it's going to be a bit windy. And now that I have that pod, I have that windbreak. It's going to be that's one of the best things is having that break. You don't have to fight that wind other than, if you were out and you didn't have some type of a structure and have to deal with that. Because to have a clear night and not being able to image because the wind is the culprit and it's not the clouds, that's frustrating. That just kills it. That just just ticks me off. So yeah, so for me right now, it looks like we'll have here in the Midwest where I'm at least I'll have the weekend, Sunday, Monday, and maybe even Friday here. Yeah, Friday, Sunday, Saturday looks like Saturday is but Sunday looks good and Monday looks good. So looks like I have an opportunity to get out here and do some stuff. So looking at the image of the week of the day on Astroband, I can see that most of them are done with reflectors more than refractors. Am I right? Why? Let me take a look here. That you just brought up something. Take a look at this one. Okay, that's a Ricci. Um, um, that's a Ricci, and he's using a Moravian C3. Yesterday's image of the week, that was with a Schmidt, so with mirrored optics versus glass optics. The judges like spikes. Yeah, diffraction spikes. Probably so. Who knows? Maybe that's one of the things. Because do you like spikes or don't you? You know what would be interesting is if you put if somebody want image of the day or anything like that, and it wasn't with a refractor, but they put string or whatever in front so it would make the spikes. So who knows? And see if that was probably one of the reasons why I ended up winning. Who knows? But yeah, you do see a lot of, image of the day winners from using reflectors, and it's because of the diffraction spikes from the vanes. So that's maybe a decent observation there, I guess. I'm putting fish line on my Schmidt. I like the natural spikes of the CDK. I don't like fake spikes. Yeah, I hear you there. Natural spikes are pleasing. Natural spikes. I guess they're natural. They're not something that you would make out of off of Annie's astro tools out of Photoshop. So I guess you call that natural if you're not using Annie's tools. Most people don't have a refractor with a focal. No, I mean, can you imagine the size of and the weight of a refractor that goes over or at 2000 millimeter focal length? I don't think anybody feasibly that would break somebody's back. Question here. Okay. Do you cover your rig even though you were under the pod, desiccant? Do you take flats after every imaging session, or they're not needed as frequently because the rig is stationary? First question, first part, right now, no, I don't. I do have my Telegizmo 360, but I also have an Eva an Evadry, guess dehumidifier or desiccant, the plug-in desiccant dehumidifier in right there with my telescope with the rig right there hanging. And so that helps, I think, dealing with the moisture because it's right there underneath the scope. And for a while, I haven't actually had the Telegizmo over it. Doesn't say that, maybe good or bad, but for right now, I haven't. But I do keep the Evadry in there, and to help deal with some of that moisture. But I do take my flats. I have taken flats. I have a flat library because it doesn't move. But I know everyone's, people say you should take flats after every session, or some if your imaging train doesn't move, or you're not taking it apart, then it's okay. You could probably get away with having a flat library or something like that if things don't change very much. It depends. I usually will have a library, to be honest with you, but every once in a while, depending on the target or whatever, or my mood, I will end up taking flats right after the image, or that day after that imaging session. I will take a session of flats and stuff like that. Now, one thing is that I have started to inquire about looking at different, making a change as far as my light panel, my flat panel that I use. Currently, I use the old square Spica flat, and it works fine. It's no problem. But it does have those use I believe it's LED. They're LED strips within the within the panel. And I have had every once in a while, you do notice some banding. even if I've gone over 2 seconds or something like that, or 3 seconds, I have always keep a sheet or a light tarp over your gear in a pod. Wayne, you the man. Thank you. Answers my question. So now I've still got the telegizmo in there. I'll just, I can just simply throw it back on there. It's not a big deal. But no, thank you, Wayne. That's thanks, for sharing that. That's very good advice. And I can definitely go right back outside here and I'll cover it back up. So I'll keep that as part of my habit. So thank you for sharing that. Um, but I am starting, like I was saying, my flat panel using the old Spica flat. And Spica flat, they don't make them. The company has gone out of business, and so they don't make them anymore. But I have started looking into thinking about a Gert Newman Aurora panel. I don't know if anybody's ever had any experience with the Gert Newman Aurora panels. I've heard they're pretty good. And they're overall, I've been looking at the prices and they're pretty competitive. So that's one of the things that I have been kind of looking at. I have also been thinking about the Giotto. One of the things is also, since I have, the Schmidt as well as refractors, I don't want to buy multiple flat panels or flat covers or things like that, which is one of the reasons why I'm thinking about looking at a Gert Newman, something that can support the Schmidt, as well as I can also put it over my refractor and just have that one device, because I don't want to spend money on having multiple flat panels. I don't think it really makes much sense. I mean, if you only have one scope, and that's your, one scope period, yeah, definitely get a Giotto for that scope and be done. But maybe, like in my case, since I have multiple OTAs, I think getting one that helps deal with all of it is what I'm going to go for, and which is why I've also continued using the Spica flat, because it can cover this as well as the other. Josh says the Illumiglow makes panels for astrophotography flats, no housing, but battery powered, and they're 3D printable ones. That's one of the things I've never really even got into yet, is 3D printing. I mean, I'll order stuff from like Thingiverse if I can find the schematics or anything from there, and then send it off to a 3D printer who can do it for me. But myself, I haven't done it yet, even though my youngest has a 3D printer sitting here that he hasn't even touched. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I think I may probably want to go for it and just learn it. But if any of you guys all have 3D printers and you utilize it for astrophotography, for making additional pieces of equipment, like say cable management tools or things like that, or focusing on batting off masks and things like that, let me know. So. The Giotto is a great panel. I have one on my FR8600 with a motor, and I have one for my CDA. Would like to put a motor on it, but no way to attach it. Yeah. And see, with me having Schmitz and everything and refractors, I can't see myself, even though I've heard the Giotto is great, and that's another one that's been on my list. I can't see about getting the small one and having it as a cover and stuff. because of this guy. I'd rather just go ahead and get one panel that can accommodate this, or even one that if I do decide to go with that 9 1/4 at some point, it'll be able to support the 9 1/4 as well as my refractors and smaller setups. So I can't see I just don't have the funds. I can end up going and buying 3 of these things. So 2 or 3 of them. So yeah. I have my GeoPic flap generator for 5 years already. It's pretty good. Okay. I'm not familiar with that brand, Beatrice, but glad it's been working out for you. You should talk to Dan about a long dovetail there, Mark. That's a that's just the one that he has is just insane. The 8-inch dioptic flap generator. I'll take a look at that. Video generator. I'll just take a look at this and see how it is. Do they have them in different sizes there, Beatrice? Just curious. Or is it you just building out one size? It's interesting though. This is in euros here, 113.11 euros. So about 150 bucks, maybe US. So doesn't seem too bad. Yaptic is a popular Italian brand. Okay. Bought mine at Astro Shop. Right. Cool. Thank you. There was also one that I saw, and I believe Chris, did you maybe mention to Dan or myself about the I believe it's the Wanderer Astro flat panel that I think maybe you have that or something. Let's let me know. But Dan's spike of flat. Okay. Set for 2-second flat and done. Yep. See, the one thing I wish I would have gotten, but I didn't think about it at the time, was I should have gotten the full kit with the USB controller, so I can adjust the brightness for it. So that's the one thing I regret. I should have gone ahead and just did that. For an 8-inch, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. There, Beatrice, 199,000 pounds. Or is that euros? Sorry, 199 euros in 2018 for an 8-inch. But yeah, so that's gonna be probably my next adventure, is looking for something a little bit better than the spike of flat I currently have. Maybe looking at something that's not LED and more maybe an EL type, like I said, the Gert Newman or Aurora or something like that. That's the one thing, is that I'm really enjoying using Nina and stuff like that. And I want to get to the point where if I have a way to keep it like the where like the Giotto and with the Alto or anything like that, if I could keep it where it can close up and then take the flats right after the imaging session, I mean, that's just killer. That's awesome, but it just depends. And if you can have that set up. Thanks, Beatrice. So in euros. That's what I thought. Thought it was in euros. So yeah. Yeah, the flat wizard, it's been great for me. That's what I've been using, and it's been really, really good. The one thing is that I don't get is using the Nina Flat Wizard versus say when I've used the ASI Air's Flat Wizard. It's the ASI Air seems a lot faster, right, to crank out your flats versus Nina. For Nina, it seems that even after say if I do a 2-second flat, it would take a lot longer to just get everything. So then you can go do the next flat image. So you can go ahead and do your next flat. I want to say it took like another 10 or 15 seconds or something like that on top of the 2 seconds that, to take the actual image itself. So it's one thing I don't understand what's it doing, what's Nina doing, and what taking it so long to do that versus, like I said, when I was using the ASI Air, set it to auto and it would go right after the other. It wouldn't stop. So yeah, see the thing is that when I've done my flats here and with the Spica flat, I can't, not everything for me is for LRGB, Chris, is like a 2-second flat or anything like that, because my greens and my blues tend to have been like much longer than my 2-second luminance. My luminance being 2 seconds, boom, it's gone. But also, like I said, I regret not getting that USB controller so it can manage the brightness, so it can increase or decrease, so I can keep everything at like 2 seconds, and then Nina can adjust the brightness accordingly that it needs. Sphere, how many flats per filter do you integrate? I do 30. Dave says 25 is a good number. Yeah. So yeah, we're in that same ballpark. Like I said, I do 30. I do 30 for all of them. I do 30 for my flats. I do 30 darks and my dark flats. Joe's saying 50. So it just depends, but anything over 25, you're fine. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna call it a night. It has been a lot of fun. I really thank everybody for hanging out here with me, and enjoying. We had some great conversation about our calibration frames, LRGB imaging, and don't forget astroworldweb.com/IOTW. Don't forget to go ahead and vote for one of the 3 entries for image of the week. And if I'm not able to do a quick show on Friday, we will make the announcement of image of the week for this week for the 10th during E300, but I will go ahead and set up the Google Drive and everything to do new entries this weekend. So don't worry, I'll take care of that for you guys. So thanks, Tarek. Appreciate you hanging out. Again, everybody here, thanks for joining me. And to all of my fellow veterans here in the US, if I don't see you, or we can't catch up on Friday, enjoy your Veterans Day. thank you all for your service. I personally appreciate it, to my brothers and sisters in arms. And yeah, so enjoy your day. Thanks, Wayne. Take care. Appreciate all of the advice on the Sky Shed pod. Definitely going to get the seals going on this thing really quickly. So again, take care, everybody. See you again on Friday. Hopefully, maybe. If not, definitely do not forget E300, episode 300. Please, if you do plan on doing a video, 30 seconds to a minute video, to let us know how Astroworld TV has helped you. It's being, a virtual astronomy club, or how, positive, of an impact or whatever. We appreciate that feedback in those videos. So don't forget to do that for us if you have that time. So good night, everybody. Take care. And as always, keep imaging, keep educating in clear skies. And we will see you very soon. Maybe Friday, if not next week, Wednesday. And Dan, enjoy the vacation. Take care, guys. See you later.